During the Cold War, many events took place between the United States and the Soviet Union. This crisis, however, not only involved the U.S. and the Soviet Union, but Cuba as well. Unfortunately, this crisis could have led to nuclear war, but it didn't. These events lasted from 1959 to 1962. However, since the Americans helped Cuba declare independence from Spain in 1898, the U.S. has had good relations with Cuba. Americans invested an immense amount of time and money into Cuba, and in 1934, the U.S. helped Fulgencio Batista become the leader of Cuba. His method of governing soon became destructive, and Cubans started to resent him because of American relations with Cuba. In 1959, Fidel Castro replaced Batista. Castro promised economic recovery and started to adopt communist ideas. He then signed a trade agreement with the Soviet Union. The U.S. was appalled to see a country in such close proximity to become a communist, not to mention having such a close connection with the Soviets. In the summer of 1960, they stopped trading with the Soviet Union, and by 1961, they ceased all relations with Cuba. The U.S. was hoping that this would destroy the relationship between Cubans and Soviets, but it did just the opposite. In April 1961, the new American president, John F. Kennedy, supported an invasion by the Cuban exiles, Cubans who left the country when Castro took over. The CIA decided to support them by providing weapons and training. The exiles attempted to invade the Bay of Tapes on the coast of Cuba, but they were completely outnumbered, leading to the humiliation of the exiles and the CIA. In September 1961, Khrushchev decided to support Castro with weapons because Castro felt that he needed more military support to protect Cuba against future attacks. By July, Castro had announced that he was a communist. Americans were afraid that Khrushchev would supply Cuba with nuclear weapons. They were especially frightened because of Cuba's proximity to the U.S. In September 1962, Kennedy told Khrushchev that he would not allow Cuba to become a base for Soviet missiles. Khrushchev told him that he did not intend on doing so, but by May he had decided that if there was a way to deploy missiles in Cuba without detection,
Don't you dare put this on. I won't.
On October 14, 1962, an American spy plane saw missile sites in Cuba. The Americans were not only worried about the missile sites in Cuba, but that there were Soviet ships sailing to Cuba that could be carrying more weapons. Kennedy was afraid that if he tried to intervene, nuclear war would break out. On October 23rd, Kennedy decided to place a blockade around Cuba to prevent Soviet ships from landing their missiles. On the same day, Kennedy told Khrushchev to remove the missiles from Cuba. He assured Kennedy that there were no nuclear missiles in Cuba and said that he would ignore the blockade, calling it an act of piracy.
Remove the missiles immediately. Don't worry, I'll remove the blockade. Piracy.
The next day, the 24th of October, the Soviet ships arrived at the blockade. All the ships turned back except for one. Nuclear warfare had been avoided. The Soviet Union still had missiles in Cuba, though. On October 26, Khrushchev sent a letter stating that they would move their missiles if the U.S. lifted the blockade and promised not to invade. Before Kennedy had the opportunity to respond, he sent another letter the following day. It said that Soviet missiles in Cuba were no more of a threat to the U.S. than American missiles in Turkey were to the Soviet Union. If the USA removed their missiles in Turkey, Khrushchev said he'd move the Cuban missiles. Not soon after, a U.S. plane was shot down. Kennedy decided to only reply to the first letter. He agreed to the terms of the first letter, but said if the missiles were not removed, there would be an attack. The crisis ended on October 28th, when Khrushchev announced he would remove the missiles in Cuba. The deal on the missiles was kept confidential, which only added to the U.S.'s victory. The Soviets were certain that the crisis was a victory for them because it guaranteed communist Cuba's independence. Both sides understood their power and decided to take further precautions to prevent war.
Let's try not to go to war, okay? Agreed.
Thanks for not going to war over my
A
country.
hotline was set up between Washington and the Kremlin, and the nuclear test ban treaty was signed in 1963. In the end, nuclear war had been avoided, and the Cold War calmed down just then.